On June 14th, AILA, the American Immigration Lawyers Association, released a first-of-its-kind report on asylum timelines titled High Stakes Asylum, How Long an Asylum Case Takes and How Long Can We Do Better? The report highlights how that more immigration cases are started each year than immigration judges can complete. So there's more being put into the system and less being put out. Obviously leads to backlogs. And over this time, it has led to not only backlogs, but led to ballooning numbers of pending cases, which puts pressure on judges and the courts and even us lawyers, while also having real consequences for the migrants living in legal limbo. For some recent numbers about the backlog increased significantly during the Trump years, and none of the Trump administration's most controversial immigration policies, including the migrant protection protocol, zero tolerance, border enforcement, the Muslim ban, etc., managed to reduce the court backlog. In fact, the backlog increased from just over 500,000 at the end of fiscal year 2016 to 1.26 million by the end of Trump's term in 2020, a backlog of 1.26 million asylum applications. But that's nothing compared to the Biden administration. Between fiscal year 2021 and fiscal year 2022, the backlog increased almost another 500,000 cases, from 1.5 million to 1.9 million backlogged asylum cases that have to be adjudicated by immigration judges. But the backlog is more than just numbers. Reporter Angela Mara Vilches published a recent article that highlighted some of these human consequences. Vilches shares the story of a Nicaraguan asylum seeker whose case hasn't budged in 5 years, highlighting the fact that since his application hasn't progressed, he said he can't move on, can't heal from what has been left behind. Donald Kerwin and Evan Millett, both from the Center of Migration Studies, engaged with this important yet fraught topic in a brand new article called The U.S. Immigration Courts Dumping Ground for the Nation's Systemic Immigration Failures. In the article, they report that there has been a significant shift in the past decade regarding which agency is initiating deportation cases in court. In 2011, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement started most cases. Today, Customs and Border Protection is issuing by far the most notices to appear in immigration court. In fact, according to data, ICE issued less NTAs than USCIS every year since 2015. Now, USCIS is what we might call the immigration benefits wing of DHS. So the fact that they are issuing more NTAs than the enforcement wing of ICE is very significant. Second, Kerwin and Millett compare Congress's paltry funding of the immigration courts, which is much larger funding of ICE and CBP. In 2023, for instance, the EOIR, which is the agency that runs the courts, the Executive Office of Immigration Review, they received $860 million in their budget, compared to Customs and Border Patrol's $20.8 billion and Immigration and Customs Enforcement's $9.1 billion. The effect of this budget inequality is that the courts have too few immigration judges and, perhaps even more importantly, too few support staff relative to the 1.9 million backlogged asylum cases. That's not even all the deportation cases. That's just the asylum cases. Third, Kerwin and Millett argue for a more independent immigration court that would vest immigration judges with greater independence and authority. Right now, they all report to the Department of Justice. And a bill to make the courts independent was introduced last year by Representative Zoe Lofgren, supported by the American Bar Association, the American Immigration Lawyer Association, and the National Association of Immigration Judges. A decade ago, there was very little reporting and research on the immigration court system. Today, the immigration courts have moved closer to the center of the national debate about how to reform the immigration system. The urgency of that debate is only heightened by the fact that 2.2 million people, these are real people with real lives, continue to move on even when their case is not heard by the immigration court. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.